for joining us. And so we'll just start off quickly with a bit about why we're here, and then we'll do intros around the room and kind of get into it. So why are we here? Michael, Kevin, and I were chatting about the importance of health and wellness in the job search and how people tend to shy away from talking about it. And we just wanted to create a safe space to discuss our personal experiences and anything we've learned that could be helpful for people on the job search who might be going through a similar scenario. Before we move on to introductions, I did want to provide a caveat that we are not mental health experts. We're just going to be providing information based off of our experiences, our research, and what has worked for us, but did want to be transparent about that up front. But with that, let's move into intros. And Michael, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Michael Cassidy, and yeah, I'm not a mental health expert. I'm a certified personal trainer. So kind of coming at this from a more physical angle. The mind and body are inextricably connected, and even though it sounds obvious, a lot of times we neglect our health, physical and mental. But anyways, I'm also a DevOps architect. I create content to teach people about the cloud and different technologies related to that. Um, I haven't been in the job search for a while now, but in 2022, I was changing careers. I came from the trade show industry. I built like exhibits with my hands, and then I decided to get into the cloud and build things there. So it was quite the transition. COVID had happened, and the trade show industry kind of was going down. So I knew I had to pivot at some point. I ended up getting into tech. While that was happening, we had our first child. We bought a new home. And I just didn't have time to work out. And I noticed that it definitely had an effect on my mental health. And it was something I neglected. I kind of put it in the back seat, but I probably should have put it in the front seat, because I think when you are trying to find a job, you might not get enough sleep. I was studying to get different certifications as well. And so not getting enough sleep was something that was negatively affecting me. When you don't get good sleep, you sometimes tend to eat worse also. I wasn't moving as much, but eventually I kind of figured out that all these things that I wasn't doing, when I started to do them, things like moving more, eating better, sleeping more, I was able to retain more information. My mood was better. And eventually I did get a job, but I definitely remember that feeling of looking for a job. It was only a few months, but it felt like a few years. And so that's kind of just my little bit of experience with job searching. And I know there are some of you out there who have been looking for much longer, but I think at least from my angle for this talk, I'd like to address some of the physical things, just because I know that they've helped me so much. So that's kind of just a little bit about me. Kevin, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Yeah. Um, Hello, everyone. So my name is Kevin Grunewald. I've been in the TA recruitment space for roughly the past 10 years. I've worked in numerous industries: renewable energy, skilled trades. I've worked in technical engineering, tech. Um, and I think one of the biggest reasons why I was really excited to jump on this panel today with Molly and Michael is because I vividly remember during COVID and even after COVID, um, I actually I actually knew two people who had family members who took their own lives due to mass layoffs. So it's just the job search can really break people, and I think it's very important to remember really to just recenter and, remember that, the people in your home are the people that you are doing everything it is that you're doing. You're doing it for them. So just happy to be here, and yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Molly.
Thanks for sharing, both Michael and Kevin. Yeah, my name's Molly Wheaton, and I'm a co-founder at Earn Better. We're a company that uses AI to help people in the job search. So we give people a bunch of free tools to try to help the job search or help job seekers be more effective and save time in their job search. Before Earn Better, I spent like 10 years at various tech companies across a bunch of different functions, such as recruiting and operations and client management. I mentioned this earlier, but I'm based in Austin, Texas, so would love to know where others are tuning in from. Feel free to comment with that. And yeah, personally, I've struggled with mental and physical health over the years. I think it can be really tough trying to juggle everything in today's world, whether you're employed or on the job search. I have an example of that. It's while I was employed, but I think it does transfer well to people who are on the job search. It was right after COVID, we moved to a remote environment at one of my previous companies, and I personally just wasn't good at turning off or shutting off. And I found myself working all the time. Like I always wanted to be responsive and on top of everything, kind of like overcompensating because I was remote, and just had trouble making boundaries at work, which definitely impacted me mentally and physically. I think job seekers are sometimes in a similar boat where you just want to keep at it and keep making progress. But it's hard if you're doing something for 8 to 10 hours a day, especially if you're like just sitting while you're doing that. I ended up talking to my therapist about it, who was really helpful in like chatting through the situation, brainstorming different solutions, helping me figure out how to move forward. If you don't have a therapist, I think I could have always done this if I had chatted with like a friend or a mentor or a peer. And one of my solutions, and it's something obviously that I'm working on daily, weekly, monthly. It's not like you just kind of figure it out and then, this is done. But I just started adding breaks to my work calendar a couple of times per day as a reminder to get up, move around, take a walk, do something, whatever it is, just not looking at a screen. And I think that's been like definitely a game changer over the past few years, and something that I think could be helpful for folks on the job search. I know it's easier said than done, but baking breaks into your calendar to account for like movement or rest or whatever it is that you might need, but just so you're not doing something for 8 to 10 hours straight. But yeah, that's a little bit more about me. And then I'll give a couple housekeeping reminders before we get into some of the other topics. As we've mentioned, please comment and ask questions throughout the event. I'm going to try to stay present in the conversation, so might not be able to review all comments and questions in real time. Some of them it won't be till the end, but I'll try to keep up with them. And then we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. But if we don't get to yours, feel free to follow up with any of us one-on-one, and we'll try to get those addressed for you. But Michael, do you want to kick us off? I know you had 4 different tactics to kind of help combat stress and things that have worked for you. So if you wanted to start with those.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. So I'm just going to talk about kind of 4 pillars of health and mental health. This is not an exhaustive list by any means. I just wanted to give some of the best like bang for your buck things that I've found help me with my mental and physical health. At first, I don't know if you guys are okay with this. I'm kind of throwing this out there. If we can do an activity, a physical activity. So Molly and Kevin, you can join in. You don't have to, but anyone who's watching this now, it'd be cool if you join in. It's not going to be like super embarrassing, I don't think. So there was this neurobiologist, his name is Robert Sapolsky. He wrote this book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And so the reason for this is because animals know how to dissipate stress. In our world, with technology and all our jobs, all the stress we have, we kind of had chronic stress. Animals like zebras, they arguably face like worse stress, being attacked by a lion. But when this happens, animals tend to like shake. It's this like primal impulse. And so they dissipate the stress and they move on. And us humans, it's kind of harder to do that because we have this chronic stress. So this activity, sometimes I share this with my clients or when I'm speaking in groups, but this activity we're going to do is you can do it seated, that's fine. So what we're going to do is, first of all, before we start, I feel like society has kind of conditioned us just a little bit to suppress our feelings. And so just by doing like some shaking, imagine yourself dissipating your stress, just letting it go. It kind of feels weird, but if you just go above, out to the sides, you can even let out a growl if you want. I'm not going to do that. But if you kind of just shake it off, the Taylor Swift song, she knew something there. But shake it off. I don't know, if you really focus, when I do that, I can kind of feel the stress leaving my body. So the angle that I'm coming at this is kind of like micro things you can do during your day to dissipate stress, to improve your health and your fitness and even your mental health. So I hope that kind of felt good. I hope some of you were able to kind of shake it off. But that's one thing you can do during the day when you want to have a break and kind of step away from your computer or whatever work you're doing. And that brings me into movement. So when I was on the job search, I ended up doing these things called micro workouts. I didn't really know the term at the time, but basically micro workouts are short bursts of activity. They can be just 1 minute, 60 seconds to 2 minutes, and doing this a few bouts during the day. And not only do these have a benefit to your physical health, they also affect your brain. So there was a randomized crossover trial, which means they had two groups of people. One was a control group. They just sat in a chair for 3 hours. The other group did intermittent squats. So they got up once every hour, I believe, and they did squats for 60 seconds. And then they switched the groups and did it again just to make sure that the correlation was what they thought it was. So anyways, they found that just doing these squats just for 60 seconds increased blood flow to their brain. It improved executive functioning, cerebral blood flow, and various things like that. So just these short bouts of movement can impact your health in a positive way. And when you're getting more blood to your brain, that's obviously a good thing. So some other things that I like to do, and if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me, or if anybody catches anything that I'm missing. And then I like to refer to a lot of studies. Obviously, I'm not going to put the references in the comments, but if you are interested in reading any of the studies that I mentioned, feel free to message me afterwards, and I'll gladly send you them over, because I'm all about evidence-based things. Otherwise, I don't know. So, anyways,
Michael, one thing I was going to add on the movement front, and I'm honestly not that good at this. Like, I wish I was better. When I used to work in an office, we had somebody who every hour on the hour would make everybody stand up for a minute. And like, some people would just stand up. Some people would do a plank. It was kind of like meet you where you were, which I really wish I worked remotely. So I don't have that sort of accountability. But one other thing that I found helpful, especially as I get older, is stretching. And like even today, I did 5 minutes of stretching in between meetings, and I found that to be like incredibly helpful. Wish I did it more often, but would you include that in the movement category?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would. I personally, so these micro workouts that I'm talking about, I created an app. You don't have to buy it or anything. I just am suggesting to you that you get up and move like every so often. But in my app, I do include mobility because I do think that's very important. So things like stretching and just different movements that, open up your thoracic region or, kind of combat tech neck. I mean, so many of us get stuck at our desks, whatever we're doing, we kind of get in this hunched over pattern, and then we kind of feel stuck and we tighten muscles and screw up our structure and our posture, and it can definitely affect us. Like forward head posture, that look you get when you're staring at a computer can have negative effects on your health, like your breathing, your back. It can give you headaches, and different things like that. So definitely stretching and doing some mobility drills is definitely helpful. Some other things you can do are just walking away from your computer and laying down and closing your eyes. Like I'll get into some more of that stuff, but before I veer off track, getting outside, that has obviously lots of benefits. So even if you only have time for like a 5-minute walk, that's definitely better than doing nothing. So getting up from your desk, going outside, going on a walk, it doesn't have to be intense. That's good for a number of things. Glucose metabolism, creativity. Walking has been shown to improve your creativity. Whenever I have a problem at my desk, like if it's with work, if I get up, go on a walk, I usually can solve the problem when I come back. It's kind of cool. So nevertheless, that's all to kind of say movement is important. It's important for your brain and your body. And so if no one has anything else on that, I'd like to move on to what am I going to now? Sleep. So I know you've heard it before. Like you got to get your sleep. It's important, but it truly is. I do have a study that found that you become 60% more negative if you don't get enough sleep. So if you're not, obviously this varies from person to person, but like for the average person, you do tend to need more than 6 hours of sleep. I mean, there are some like short sleepers out there, but even with them, I found a recent study that talked about if short sleepers, people who get like 5-6 hours of sleep, slept longer, they felt better. They ended up eating less. That could be due to a few different things. But for me personally, when I get better sleep, I crave less junk food. I just feel better. So I don't want to just say get better sleep. I want to offer some solutions. I just want to go over some basic things that you can do that are pretty easy that I've found and my clients have found to help them. If you follow Andrew Huberman, you've definitely heard this one before. Get sunlight in the morning. So it's definitely important to get sunlight in the morning. I think it increases your serotonin levels. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. But that in turn helps you create more melatonin at night when it's time to go to sleep. So it's kind of a regulating thing. I mean, it sounds so simple, and it is, but it has a big effect. So if you have time in the morning to get up and get some sunlight, it definitely increases like happy hormones and things like that. So I think it's important to get sunlight in the morning. And then there are various things I could go through, like, make sure you're not eating too late into the night. Gosh, I have this Oura ring. I'm not wearing it right now because I was doing a workout before. It measures a lot of my sleep metrics, so I can measure things like my deep sleep and my REM sleep. And I like to do little goofy experiments to see what helps and what doesn't. And morning sunlight is definitely something that helps. Not eating so late is another thing that helps me get into deep sleep quicker and get more deep sleep and REM sleep. And for those who don't know, I guess, deep sleep is generally associated with like your physical recovery, and REM sleep is usually associated with your cognitive abilities and your cognitive recovery. So they're both important. It's all important. Just by eating not so late, that helps. Hydration. I see someone mentioned water intake. Water intake is super important. Try not to drink water like super close to bedtime. I don't know, that disrupts my sleep. I don't know about you. And see, I kind of get off track here, but I'd like to go with the train of thought right now with water. So hydration is super important. Your body's made out of mostly water, they say. And that's true. A little hack that I found that helps me drink more water during the day is just to drink a bunch of water right when I wake up. It just kind of gets it kind of I get some like water momentum. I don't know what you want to call it, but it helps me drink more water during the day, and then in turn that helps me move more during the day. So just I fill up my water bottle, and then I drink it all at some point, and then I am forced to go upstairs and fill it up again. So because I have to go to the bathroom or fill up water or whatever. So I think that's like a little hack to help you move more. And those little things like add up. So you're drinking more water, you're moving more, and then in turn you're feeling better. So I think it can have kind of a snowball effect in a good way if you are making sure you're hydrated. What else here?
I'll jump in, Michael.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not an expert on this, but a few things that have helped me on the sleep front. I definitely agree on the water front. I try to keep like 2 full drinks by me at all times, and I almost make it a competition, like how much water can I drink during the day. But I've also, for anybody who drinks caffeine, I think limiting that. I try not to drink caffeine after noon. Different people, it affects different people in different ways. But I have to have coffee in the morning, but I try not to have any afternoon. And then before I go to sleep, and I don't want to steal your thunder for your third topic, but I also just like focus on breathing. And sometimes I'll just do like a 5 to 10 minute like meditation session, which has really helped. At the first time someone suggested it to me, I thought it sounded kind of hokey, but it's really, really helpful for me. Other than that, I will try to read a book instead of watch TV, which is something that I used to do. And then I would sit up and stay up late versus going to sleep when I needed to. But those are just a few things that have helped me.
Yeah, those are really good points. I can actually speak to the breathing part. So, Michael, those VO2 masks, the oxygen deprivation masks?
Yeah.
So I used to work out with one of those religiously because I was convinced.
Yeah, the altitude masks. Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
I was convinced. I have a little bit of sleep apnea. I was convinced that it fixed my sleep apnea. So I would use this, and then I would go to bed, and I would specifically ask my wife, "Hey, did I snore last night?" And every single time I used it, she would be like, "Nope, you slept so sound. I didn't hear anything." Because normally I snore. So, yeah, I thought that was brilliant. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Yeah.
That is pretty interesting. I don't know much about those, but I do know about the caffeine. That was a good point, Molly. I think caffeine does affect most people. For me, I kind of had to experiment when's like the latest I could have caffeine. I think I don't know this for sure. There's like a quarter life or a half life of caffeine that lasts like a very long time. So if you have caffeine at noon, there still is some in your system by the time you go to sleep at night. So for me, I really should stop drinking caffeine by about noon. Otherwise, it definitely affects my sleep. That's been a huge game changer for some people I know. They just get rid of their like evening or afternoon coffee, and they're like, wow, I sleep a lot better now because I got rid of the caffeine. So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean there are plenty of other things you can do for your sleep. Ask your doctor obviously if you want to try taking like different supplements. But like a lot of people are deficient in magnesium. I don't there are some natural sources like I think like pumpkin seeds. I don't know off the top of my head, but I take a magnesium supplement before I go to bed. I notice that increases my deep sleep and my REM sleep. I just don't happen to get enough in my diet. Once again, talk to your doctor if you want to explore different things like that. But Molly, you mentioned breathing techniques. I guess might as well talk about that. I kind of thought this was like a woo-woo type thing also, like breathe, like I already breathe, like I don't need to do that. But it does help a lot. And so I want to talk about 2 specific breathing techniques that I've used. And once again, this is something you can do like whenever, like take a break from your computer, look away from your screen. Gosh, I want to talk about so many things like vision. You know, it's not good to be staring at your screen for your eyeballs. Anyways, we'll stick with breathing though. So one measurement or one metric that's kind of interesting is called HRV, your heart rate variability. And so your heart rate variability is the fluctuation between your heartbeats. The fluctuation of time in between your heartbeats, usually measured in like milliseconds. It's like really unnoticeable by by humans. You can use certain devices to measure it. In general, the higher your HRV, the better. And this low HRV is associated with things like emotional dysregulation, decreased cognitive performance, and just suboptimal health in general. And breathing, structured breathing has been shown to improve your HRV levels. So there's this one type of breathing called resonance breathing. It's basically slow diaphragmatic breathing, slow and controlled breathing. And this has been shown in various studies to increase your HRV. So, if that's something you want to try to do, that can be helpful. The other one, you may have heard this one before, the physiological sigh. I mean, this is something we can all practice together. This one is interesting because I've seen it demonstrated in various videos, but incorrectly. So I just want to go over that super quickly. But this physiological sigh has been shown to reduce stress and recover from intense work or training. I feel like I'm frozen here. Anyways, okay, I see myself now. There's a good study done on the physiological sigh, comparing it to like box breathing and even meditation. And they found that this physiological sigh lowers your respiratory rate and improves your mood better than any of these other modalities, which is pretty interesting. So the physiological sigh is you breathe in through your nose until your lungs are about full for about a second, and then you pause, and then you suck in again through your nose like for a quarter of a second. So it's like, so you're kind of like topping off your lungs. And then you slowly exhale for about 2 minutes or 2 seconds through the mouth. So that's the physiological sigh. By just doing this for about 5 minutes, you can literally decrease your stress levels. So I don't know, this is another activity we can try if we want to. It's kind of fun. So I'll just go through just a few of these with you right now. So breathe in one through the nose, top it off, and breathe out through the mouth through 2 seconds. So we'll do that one more time. Breathe in through the nose. Again. One more time. I don't know. I kind of feel better. Do you? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, no, it really helps. I think intentional breathing helps, and I do think the physiological sigh is a good one to do. It's a good one to try. Even compared to box breathing, which is you breathe in for a certain number of seconds, hold it for a certain number of seconds, breathe out, hold it, so makes that box structure.
But I was just going to ask that. I've actually done that, and that's another great one to really break up stress.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. So I mean, try either one of those out just for 5 minutes. I've done this actively with my Oura Ring, so it measures, because it can measure my HRV, my heart rate variability, and when I do things like follow a guided meditation or just do this physiological sigh for 5 minutes, my HRV does steadily increase, and like I said before, that's associated with more resilience to stress. And we live in a world, especially when you're looking for a job, you're stressed out all the time. So and you can't avoid all the stressors. So I mean, you need to become more resilient to that stress. So I don't know, Molly, if you had any particular meditations you did, or any particular breathing, or was it more just like intentional breath work?
I've done both. So sometimes it's been more like that box breathing where I'll inhale for a certain amount of seconds, hold it, and then exhale. And I do that for like, 4 or 5 minutes. And I can just like, I do it when I'm laying down, and I can feel myself like kind of sinking and just, you can almost feel the stress leaving your body, and you just stop thinking about. Sometimes when I get in bed, I'm just thinking about what are all the things I didn't do, or the things I have to do tomorrow, or whatever's stressing me out. But then I've also done a couple different apps. So I have the Peloton app, and they actually have some really good meditations. They have like 5, 10, 20 minutes. And then there's a free app, and I need to go look it up. I can't remember what it's called, but similar thing. They've got like 5, 10, 15, 20 minute. And they've got meditations for throughout the day. Like they have morning, just like calming routines. I would specifically do the nighttime ones just because I have so I have trouble going to sleep sometimes, but those have all been helpful.
That's cool. Yeah, I know. I was especially hesitant to try meditation. I don't know why. But once I did, it is something that actually helps. So I mean, yeah, definitely. I think having like a wind down type routine at night is definitely another. Going back to sleep is definitely another way to maybe get better sleep.
I was in the same boat, Michael. It honestly wasn't until my sister recommended it. And then I was like, okay, well, if she's doing it, I'll try it. I don't know why. Weird resistance to trying it out, but glad I did.
Yeah, definitely. I saw someone mention soil without socks, ground yourself. I have seen a little bit of research on grounding. I mean, obviously it doesn't hurt to try. Go. So I think this is a good one to pair with like a morning routine. Like if weather permitting, go outside, feel the ground, feel the earth without your socks or shoes. I think I haven't done a ton of research into that. That's kind of, it seems like it's more emerging stuff on that. I don't know how strong the research is. Maybe it is super strong. It's just not something I'm super aware of. One time I tried like a grounding mattress, like a grounding sheet. It had like silver fibers, or I think it was silver fibers, and then you like plugged it into the ground little hole in your outlet. I don't know, just one of the many weird things that I've tried. I didn't notice anything, but maybe it just didn't work. Anyways, so the last thing I want to, Molly, did you have something to say about that?
No, I was just going to say I actually have never tried the grounding, but I'm going to be looking into it.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I definitely like if you wake up, go outside, like find a river and like go wade in the river and touch the rocks and get some sun, like you feel great. I don't know, I don't know what, there's a lot of things going on there. You're just out in nature. I think there's things we don't know yet about nature and that makes it obvious, I don't know. But anyways, I think that's it's definitely something to try. Obviously, it doesn't hurt. I like to, combine as much as I can into like a morning routine just to like start my day off right. I have this goofy like mace bell. I do like mace bell swings. I don't know if anyone is interested in that. I can.
Oh, like are you talking about like with a sledgehammer? You do swings?
Yeah. It's basically like a sledgehammer, and you go around like this, and it just like really opens you up, and it just like doing it outside. I don't know. It's just it's some goofy stuff, but it feels good. And you get some movement in. And
especially if you can't run. I feel you there.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, right now I cannot run, and then the winter gets in the way too. Oh, okay? I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Seelin. I'm so sorry. You said you live in Finland. Do they do a lot of like ice baths and saunas over there? Or am I thinking of somewhere else?
I think I think so. Maybe like ice baths and I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember.
that's something I need to look into some more. I've seen some good studies on going in the sauna, mostly related to like heart health and things like that. But I do like cold exposure. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I haven't done recently, but doing like taking a cold bath in the morning. It feels terrible at first, but I do think it increases your resilience to stress. I do think there's something about about that. Anyways, I'm kind of yeah, Molly.
Don't worry, Michael.
By the way, I love ice baths. Call me crazy.
Yeah, I've seen this trend where people stick their heads in an ice bath,
Oh, I
so
don't
they
know
don't have
about
to put their
that.
whole bodies in. I don't know. Okay, yeah. So yeah, right. Seelan, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your
Yep.
name. Yeah, sauna, ice bath. I do think, yeah, I need to do it in the winter. It's like definitely harder in the winter, but I do think that it has more of a benefit. So in terms of okay, so there's even a word in Finnish for resilience. Okay,
Sisu.
that's you people know about it, right? I did this this cold exposure challenge. Jalen. Okay, I'm sorry. That's a cool name. All right. Um,
Jalen.
I took a group of 100 people. We did a cold exposure challenge, and I challenged people to take ice baths basically for 30 days. And I did, it wasn't scientific, but I did just like a survey before and after about people's mood, energy levels, soreness, things like that. And a lot of markers anecdotally were improved. And for me, I definitely felt an increase in resilience when I did do these ice baths. And you know, you only need to. I don't know. This is probably something I guess I should you know disclaimer like ask your doctor because you don't it can if you do it too cold it can be unsafe for sure. So ask your doctor before you try anything like that. Okay, but sorry, I'm getting thrown off by Jalen's. Yeah, that would be cool
Yeah,
to go
let's go ice
bathing.
bathing.
Yeah. But so yeah, definitely like a mental health benefit. In personally, when I tried ice baths, just 2 minutes in the morning, I followed it by my morning routine, my mace bell swings. I did a weighted vest walk. I just think winning the morning is like an important thing, and it kind of sets the tone for the rest of your day. And I don't know. I guess it is a good challenge, and it's something you can celebrate a small win about when you take a little ice bath. I mean, it sucks when you get in. There's no doubt about it. But I think the mental benefits are pretty cool. So, anyways, sorry for the segue or the rant there about ice baths. But thank you, Jalen, for the extra information. So now I just want to quickly talk about nutrition, if we can. Did someone have a question? Did someone have a question? Or we'll get to that next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just wanted to let him know because he asked it if,
Mhm.
like 15 or 20 minutes ago. I just wanted them to know we're not ignoring him. I think you can talk about nutrition and
Yeah.
then we can jump to his.
I'll briefly touch on nutrition. I don't want to go too in depth about it. So nutrition is kind of a controversial subject, but I think there are a few things we can all agree on, or at least one thing. The one thing I'm going to talk about is ultra processed foods. So things like candy, soft drinks, sweetened cereals, hot dogs, things like that. Things that we kind of all sort of know aren't super great for us. So ultra processed foods have been found to have a negative effect on your brain. And the amount this okay, so I like the 80-20 rule kind of because it fits into this study nicely. So in order for you to experience greater or quicker cognitive decline, the amount of ultra processed foods in your diet make up 20% or more. So, and what this study, I found a study, it was a study published in December 2022. There were 10,000 diverse participants, and they found that cognitive decline occurs when these UPFs, ultra processed foods, make up more than 20% of your daily total calories. And the study showed a 28% faster rate of cognitive decline compared to those whose diet consisted of less than 20% UPFs. So now I'm sure the less ultra processed foods you eat, the better. But this was just kind of the cutoff that this study found to be significant. And so I think there are, I'll go over a couple ways you can eat less processed foods, I guess. But I do think it is important to limit your intake of ultra processed foods. We know they're bad for you. They make you eat more. They usually contain a combination of certain oils and sugars that increase your hunger and and make you eat more calories. So, that's not good for various number of reasons. But yeah, in the United States, at least, UPFs make up about, I think it's 67% of daily caloric intake on average, and that's not very good. So a lot of people think that whole foods cost a lot, and I don't know, maybe they do, but I think it's important to try to eat more whole foods. So whether it's fruits, vegetables, unprocessed meats, nuts, beans, things like that. I think trying to get more of that in, so you don't eat as many processed foods, is important. So yeah, there are a few different studies now showing that it affects your brain a little bit worse than we thought it did, and obviously it affects your energy levels, your body composition, and things like that. So one way because I do like treats, I like ice cream, things like that. So what I do is I plan. This doesn't work for everybody. This is just one thing that I found that works for me and a few of my clients. We plan on having a dessert. Like even every day you can have a dessert, just as long as it's not like taking up 20% of your daily caloric intake. So I'll have dinner, and then I'll have like a small serving of a dessert or something. And this way I'm satisfying my sweet tooth, or whatever you want to call it, but I'm not going overboard and binging and eating a ton of calories, more than I want to, or whatever. So that's just like, I just wanted to touch on that for nutrition, because we can argue about, or a lot of people have strong opinions about being an omnivore, a carnivore, herbivore, or whatever. But I just wanted to touch on ultra processed foods, because I think it's something that we can, most communities or most camps agree on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something that's, we definitely need to ignore more of and focus on. When I go to the grocery store, I usually focus on the outer aisles of the whole store.
Right.
That way, you stay away from like the potato chips. You stay away from I mean, if I need to get bread, I'll get like Frank's bread, which is like,
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
like
that's a good one.
protein.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try and stay away from the middle
Mhm.
aisles. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe this is I try to avoid the controversial subjects on these kind of live talks, but I think an increase in protein is satiating, so it keeps you fuller. A certain percentage of protein, when you eat protein, goes towards like the digestive process, so you're really not, you kind of have a little bit more leniency when you're eating more protein. But yeah, you brought up that bread, but yeah, I think in general that's a great tip. Shop the perimeter. Usually up and down the aisles you find the ultra processed foods with many ingredients that you don't know what they are or how to even pronounce them. As a rule of thumb, is if it's like one ingredient, not many ingredients at all, it's probably okay. What is one of my friends? He says if it wasn't around 150 years ago, don't eat it. I mean, um, yeah, I mean, I do eat some ultra processed foods, but I do try to keep it, for me, it's like, I don't know, if I'm being honest, it's probably like 90-10, like 10% ultra processed foods. I think the lower you can get it, the better, but I'm not a fan of, giving up my favorite foods. You can still stay healthy, clear, fit, whatever you want to call it, by planning
Yeah.
in.
Just portion control when you splurge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest that I still have a lot of improvements to make in this camp. So I'm not going to chime in on this one. If you guys looked in my pantry behind me, it would be, Michael would be scared.
No, but I think
but I
that's
think,
an opportunity, though. I mean, if
yeah,
just
no, and it's always, good
You
to
need to have a
share.
cheap food. Yeah.
Yeah, good to share information and insights, because knowledge is power. But yeah, no, thanks for sharing all of those, Michael. Super helpful, and like lots of good, I feel like, tactical things people can bring away from this. So appreciate you sharing all those.
yeah,
And
no,
yeah, I figured we could, it's actually, and I don't know if it's Pavan or Pavan, but great question. And Kevin, it kind of ties directly into the subject you were going to touch on. So his question is, how can I handle exhaustion during a job search? Lately, I've been finding less and less motivation while tailoring my resume, and I'm struggling to concentrate due to loss of motivation, which kind of ties in. Kevin and I were chatting about, like how to stay motivated amidst all the rejection in a job search. And so, Kevin, do you want to kick us off on that one?
Sure, yeah. So some some things you can do to really stay motivated during the job search. I think the first thing is getting a game plan together. Um, you know, having an end goal, because without that, I mean, you're already gonna fail. You're already set up to fail before you even get started. So I think that's really important. Um, I think that focusing on what you can control, which is obviously you can't control rejections, but what you can control is the amount of work and prep that you put into your interview prep, your LinkedIn, your resume. Getting polished with your 90-second speech when you are telling people about yourself in interviews. So those are some really good tips. I also think, blocking off your schedule to where you're not just on LinkedIn all day and all night. Because, I mean, you could just go down a rabbit hole and burn out and just doom scroll, and you don't want to do that. So it's very important to really manage your time efficiently while you're on LinkedIn. Um, So yeah, what do you think, Molly?
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on this, but the two things I would kind of reiterate are, creating a game plan and having like smaller tasks every day so you can feel like you're making progress. And again, there's things you can control and there's things that you can't. So, like, you know, customizing your resume for a job you're really interested in or submitting an application. Like, those are things that you can check off your list. Like, you can't control when a recruiter is going to get back to you or when you're going to hear back on a job. But having a plan where you have small pieces that ladder up to your end goal, I think is a good idea. And then leaning on your network. There's a lot of people out there right now who are on the job search or who have recently been on the job search or who might be on the job search soon. And, lean on the people around you because you'd be surprised by how many people want to help. So whether it's sending a message to people that you worked with even 5 or 10 years ago and just letting them know what you're looking for and seeing if they have any leads. Those types of conversations, even though they're like informal networking conversations, can help you build momentum and help you feel like you're making progress. So I would say that's another thing I would focus on as well.
Yeah, and just to add one more thing onto that, I would definitely recommend using Earn Better to get your cover letter, resume, thank you notes all tailored up and ready to go. Um, that way, it's a little bit less stress on you, and you can focus on other things. So you're not stressing about, oh man, I have to apply for 50 jobs this week. Well, if I think that if you've applied for 500 plus jobs and you haven't gotten any callbacks, it's time to sit down and rethink your game plan, because all you're going to do is just destroy your mental health completely. So for anyone that's listening, anyone that sees this, just, if you're going through that, don't keep going. Do yourself a favor, stop, talk with some friends, see if they recommend anyone, a career coach, anybody, someone that you can just talk with and get some direction. And yeah, I see so many people just applying to 2,000 plus jobs, and they haven't even gotten an interview. And it's just, you don't want to keep going down that path. You got to change up what you're doing to get different results. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's all you're going to get is the same results. So
yeah, and sort of figuring out in the funnel where you're having trouble. Is it from like submitting your application to getting an interview? Is it you're getting interviews but not getting offers, and then figuring out where you need the most like support or help? And yeah, Kevin, thanks for the shout out for Earn Better. It is a completely free tool, and the reason we made it was to help people save time in their job search. So you could spend that time doing something more important, whether it's networking or it could be something not related to the job search, like what we're talking about in this session, like maybe something you want to take your kids to the park or walk your dog or just get some sunlight or get outside, whatever it might be. So if you're not using that, it can definitely be helpful to saving you time in the search. Let me see. I'm looking at the comments. I don't think I see any others that we haven't addressed.
I was gonna add, if it's okay, I just want to mention like a brief what I did when I was looking for a job. I remember, I don't know if you've tried this, Pavan, but I remember doing projects because I was trying to get into tech. I didn't have like previous experience, so I would do a lot of personal projects on medium.com. So I would, go through how to, launch an S3 bucket, for example, whatever. And I would do a write up on it on Medium, and then I would post about that on LinkedIn. And that's just something that I did that I found to be helpful. A few different companies saw my articles and reached out to me, and I was just able to land a few interviews that way. I don't know, it's just off the top of my head. I remember doing that and that being helpful. So I don't know, I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you mentioned that. A lot of people do similar things on GitHub, and then they'll add. Now LinkedIn has the feature to where you can actually link your GitHub to your LinkedIn profile. So
Yeah,
it's interesting that you mentioned that though, because I think that is such a great way to display your experience, your expertise, what and your knowledge base. I recommend anyone doing that either on Medium or going on GitHub and creating an account. I highly recommend it
yeah,
because you're only building out your profile more, and I guarantee you, everyone is not doing that.
yeah. I think it's
So
definitely a good way to differentiate yourself. I think my first job I got was definitely because of doing that. And I think you can put a little link. Like I used to have my link on my profile straight to my Medium, and I definitely saw some people do their GitHub as well. So I think that's a good way to do it.
yeah, I don't think people utilize the GitHub feature or even the projects feature on LinkedIn enough. Um, I see some people with it, and I mean, I coach, I do some career coaching, and I walk my clients through, if they're in project management, if they're in tech, I mean, you know, I advise them to do exactly that. Get, sign up with GitHub, get a free account, go on Medium, start recording what it is that you're doing, because it's only going to validate your experience that much more. And I guarantee you that if you're doing that, that the other people that are applying for the jobs that you just leapfrog them by doing that. Because if there was any question about the ability in someone being able to do a job, and they displayed that in videos, I mean, say no more. That's all you need. So but yeah, I think that's great, Michael. I'm glad. It's interesting that because like I've never, up until a few months ago, like obviously everybody knows the job market is really tightened up, and it's, looking for a job is a job. And, it's like people are always trying to figure out like how they can, get noticed. And that's like one of the best ways that I've seen people, get callbacks, get offers, get interviews. So
Yeah, I love that.
all right.
Thinking outside the box and also showcasing skills.
Mm-hmm.
The only other question I see, I don't know the answer to this, Kevin. I'm not sure. Maybe you would. We had somebody ask if there's any similar resources for mechanical engineers for showcasing work.
I would do. I mean, you could utilize the project section on your LinkedIn. Similar resources, as in like GitHub or Medium. I'm not sure what he means by resources.
Yeah, I mean, if you are talking about sharing like projects, I think Medium is a great place to do that. If it, I think building in public or whatever they say is
Yes.
people like to see that.
Agreed.
Well, I think that's it as far as the questions. Michael and Kevin, thank you guys so much for being here and doing this. Again, like I said this at the beginning, but such an important topic. And I feel like sometimes people like push it under the rug or are like hesitant to talk about it or nervous to talk about it. And I understand why it's a sensitive subject, but I think it's important to make a safe space to talk about it and normalize it. So glad that we were able to do this, and really appreciate you two joining and giving your time, expertise, opinions, etc.
Yeah, of course. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And Kevin, I don't know if you have time for one more question. One just flew in at the last minute. If you want to take it, I know it's 6, which is the end time, but hiring trends for jobs the last couple of months, and any final comments on that?
I would just say, well, I mean, it really depends on what industry you're in, and
As of October, November.
okay,
December.
so holidays, yeah. I mean, companies are still hiring during the holidays. I mean, last year at my previous company, I mean, we were hiring people all the way up until we were pushing out offers the week before Christmas. So when you have positions, I mean, you need to fill them. It doesn't matter if it's the holidays or not. Usually, hiring managers will have backups in place to fill in to help keep the process moving. So I wouldn't get discouraged by that at all. I would continue, keep going. Okay, you're in tech, a new grad. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely reach out to your university, and I don't know if you are utilizing Handshake, but I would definitely start there. I think that's a great way because your university already has relationships built with companies. So for anybody that's a new grad, I always recommend doing that first before you do anything else. Just utilizing those partnerships, and then going from there. And then from there, obviously, networking with the people that are in the current position that you're applying for, really figuring out, connecting, building your network on LinkedIn, honing your LinkedIn and resume, and polishing up your interview prep.
Kev, appreciate you chiming in at the 11th hour, because I know we're over a couple minutes over, but thank you for providing that insight. And again, thank you both for joining. Really thankful for y'all's time. And yeah, hope folks enjoy.